Hey guys, so apparently Gen Z and Gen Alpha are now buying back old iPods that we used to have those days. Guys, you remember the old iPods? I don't even have any. That's how crazy it is. But I can tell you, for those who don't know, right? iPod used to be like kind of lovely square like this, and then had a rotatory thing. In fact, we're going to show it up. That will be the thumbnail of this video. So the thumbnail is going to say old iPhones. Um, so it's not that. I just want to, the aesthetic doesn't look nice. I love my white background and everything. But yeah, no, no. So people are now buying back, iPods, from those days, and mostly kids, Gen Z. Shouldn't call you guys kids. Gen Z, Gen Alpha are going back to buy those things. And it's not because they're pretty, right? Because at the end of the day, they were triangles, right? They were just like this, rectangles, black rectangles. I know how I feel about phones, right? I'm happy to hear this, happy, because it's a bit of an irony, right? And it wasn't actually, they don't buy it for the irony, right? So people think about this and wonder why. So why are they rushing to buy old iPods, right? Just to listen to music, which is what most of us do on our mobile, right? When we are out, we should not be on social media. But if you listen to music, you can look around and still see what's happening. So they're buying it for that, just the peace and quiet of just music. Guys, well done to Gen Z. Gen Z and Gen Alpha, well done, guys. Yeah, that's a question that we need to talk about. Like, smartphones are just noisy. Smartphones are just full of notifications, right? You have your notifications coming through on the latest news, latest app, latest group chats. Yeah, no issue, but latest group chat, latest social media coming out there, latest breaking news is always a breaking news, right? And always negative. It's never been a breaking news that we've landed on the moon for years. It's never been breaking news that, something happened. It's always a breaking news of an accident, of death, of negativity, right? And all pushed onto our app. So whether you like it or not, you get it, right? And there's obviously we're talking about the algo here, right? So the algorithm as well just pushes that. Again, the algo is linked to the news, right? So if you bring out a news about a 15-year-old that just got straight A's in Living Cert or on their GCSEs or A levels, that's not going to sell. No one cares. But if you go on about bullying or something negative in school, trust me, a lot of people are going to watch it. So the news media know that, and that's why they push those negative news, right? And to where? To our phones. So that we're surrounded by that, whether you like it or not. There was an ad the other day, people were talking about, I think it was Michelle Obama, who was talking about negativity and how bad it is these days. In general, again, I don't know the stats on this, don't quote me, right? But it turns out that in general, the level of crime is not as bad as it used to be, but we just know about it so quickly. Like, I'm sat here now and I know exactly that there was a gunshot in the USA 2 days ago. I would never have known that before, right? Without social media, there's no way you would have known that. But people know that now, like in the space of your hand, you know exactly what happened in Australia. Then, in fact, you get an interview, podcasts these days, you have an interview and there's something negative going on, right? So it's just, just train ourselves to just accept those constant intrusion coming through every time, right? Every app, I talk about this and I complain a lot about this, by the way. So, sorry, who am I? I should have introduced myself just in case anyone's asking. Okay. So I'm the CEO of Orukka. Orukka is a smart payment ring, allow you tap to pay or tap to receive. We also have a bracelet as well for payments. We have a couple of AI things as well coming through in the pipeline, working with a few governments as well. We launched less than last year, just less than a year ago, and we're already in 25 countries. So you can order www.orukka.com. If you're a business user, you can order at orukkabusiness.com, where these rings can also be your POS terminal. So you can tap to receive money into your bank in 25 countries. That's crazy. In fact, I don't know how I have the time to even record this video. But this is my break. So when I take a break from work, I go on and I complain. So one of the things I complain about, obviously, if you know me, is about phones. And I'll talk about phones next, right? In the next video. But right now, I just want to talk about just the notification that's coming through and how we're seeing Gen Z, which rightly so, and I'll stop, right? And so I know because am I a millennial? I'm a millennial, right? And millennials are people who were actually there. So you would have seen Steve Jobs come out years ago. I remember. I was one of the kids. I remember vividly. I just started working in finance then in Ireland, Dublin, and then I came off with that. And I think I had to go into work, and I remember putting at least $250, 250 euros back then to buy an iPod. And I remember downloading those songs. It was the coolest thing ever. These days, you had to download it from No, previously we had to have sheet CDs, right? Where you have your LimeWire and have all those things. And then with iPods, you could then go in and just get it from the iTunes store, right? Which is very cool. So I think it was the coolest things ever. But the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that, if you look at that and then you compare that to what's happening these days on your phone, you just have notifications come through. I've mentioned all that. You now have every silly bank, government, whoever wants to have an app. Everyone has an app these days, right? ChatGPT has an app. Again, do they really need an app? I don't know. We'll talk about that separately because we're using them on our devices. There are other devices they are on, which is okay. But the point is, other people, everyone wants to have an app. Everyone. In fact, I remember going into, I'm not going to mention them, okay, but I went to buy coffee, right? And they asked me, do you have an app? I mean, I looked at the lady, I didn't want to say anything. Obviously, they didn't know who I was, right? If they knew, they wouldn't have asked me because I would have stood there and I would have just given her a lecture of 13 minutes on why they should not be getting an app as a coffee store. Like a coffee shop, what do you need an app for? For your users, so they open up an app and find out how much coffee you've had today, right? Or how much coffee you've had the last week. That's crazy. You should not do that, right? So everyone wants to have an app these days. Every platform thinks that they need to give an urgent alert. They don't. You don't need to, but they do. So notification is killing us. And that's why people are moving to AirPods. That's why people are moving to our rings, right? I mean, people are surprised at how we're selling so fast with no ads, right? But we're selling, right? People are searching, Googling online, searching, okay, what payments do I need with no notifications, no screen? In fact, we have a ring with a screen that tells you your step, which is very cool. And it works on our app as well. So all our rings all work on the same app, okay? Monesave app. I own the app as well. And then we have the rings. So the rings and the app, they all work together, irrespective of what you have, right? Payments, fitness, the whole lot. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that, notifications, people are now running away from notifications. So we have this, and then guess what? Most people just order it. They order these instead of buying the ones with rings, with screens. Order these with no screens because people are just sick of notifications. You just want to get away from it. So I'm gonna just stop complaining, right? And I know myself. So guys, if you're part of our Orukka gang, if you're part of our gang, do join us. Order our ring, and you're gonna see that you don't need notifications to survive. It's a fatigue. It's killing us, right? We always are. If we can focus on where we are right now, it'll be better. Like you can't possibly focus on every notification that's happening across the world, including the fact that your balance has just gone down by $5, right? It's good for security, but in truth, if you don't expose yourself, if you're wearing your bank on your fingers, then who's robbing you? Think about that. So the notifications, the app themselves actually they bring the risk to you. They bring that risk to us and they bring the risk to you. Guess what? It's risky. If you're wearing your bank on your finger, who's going to steal this from you? If they steal it from you, you block it on your phone, on the app, call us. Okay. But you don't need the phone every day, is my point there. So it's very interesting that Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, purposefully and, voluntarily going to devices that don't have noises, staying away from their phones. That's the future, right? We should build devices that reduce noise. Okay, this is a message. Well done to Gen Z. It's a message to the others as well, to all groups. It's a message to governments. It's a message to banks. A bank should not have an app, right? I talked the other day. I gave a lecture. I said I'm gonna have my next episode. I'll talk about banks and why they should not need an app, right? Because banks these days they all run to an app. Paradoxically, they complained that Apple and Android are shutting them away from their customers. Of course, they will do that because you're running to them and giving them your customer details. So guys, be careful out there. Well done to Gen Z for going back and bringing back the old iPods. We might just bring back the iPods, and that's the only condition I'll stop bashing Apple and Android. Pending that, I'll continue to bash them. They're not doing much. They just keep every year, they just keep charging us and keep just fleecing the customers and making lots of profits as well on us. So hopefully they stop that. Hopefully you move to the gang, the Ring gang, the Orukka gang. Join us and tap to pay wherever you are. Just go with everything on your fingers. Take care and catch you in the next one. Bye.